Hi, everybody. We are back. It's hard to believe it's been, what, a week, Jen, since our last happy hour. Today is berries and protein shake because we have got a very special guest here today. Welcome, Steve. I'm Candy. I'm Candy founder Lisa Gareau. This is Jen on that side. Jen Hadley with Candy, the one with the fascinator. And we're back to have another conversation about where are your events now. So we have had so many emails and phone calls and conversations over the last month. It's hard to believe what it's been, like 5 weeks now that things went upside down. And the conversations we're having are really about your events have changed and where are they now? The reality is we need to continue to gather. So all of you out there know this. We're not giving up on events. There is going to be more to come. But the reality is it is a new reality. So welcome, Steve. I want to pass it over to Jen, and I always point the wrong direction. Pass it over to Jen, and she's going to introduce you, and then we're going to get started with a visit around your event and what it is that shifted for you this month, all in the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay, well, yes, thanks everyone for coming and Steve for joining us. I know I had to twist your rubber arm quite hard to get you on today. But this is Steve Dowler, everybody. He is a sergeant at the Calgary Police Service. Woo woo! First responder. You're kind of a big deal these days.
Just a regular deal.
Just a regular dude. So this regular dude is in charge of the Calgary Police Half Marathon, and you run the show there. You've got a team of people and volunteers that come together and put on this amazing race. Well, it kind of is an amazing race. It's been 40 years this year. This would have been, should have been, could have been your 40th anniversary.
Will be.
Here's to that. So this last weekend was supposed to be race weekend, and so Steve, tell us what happened.
Well, and maybe we can. I think for a lot of people that haven't heard about the race, it'd be awesome to hear what it has been for 40 years. Because I know when we had talked, you had actually been so gracious to help us put an article in our last issue of Moments Magazine, the Prepare issue, and we had talked, just met actually just a few months back, and this idea of 40 years of the run. And so maybe if we could start there, Jen, just as far as what did it look like, and to host something like that year after year after year, you've got to have a pretty strong team and a great run that people want to actually participate in. Do you want to paint that picture for us? Like, what was that? What is the run? Why does it exist? What's important about it?
Sure. I've been the race director for just a couple of years. I've been involved with the race as a volunteer for about 10 years. And when I came into the position of race director, I thought it was a good opportunity for me to actually get a really good understanding of where the race came from. So way back in 1980, a couple police officers really passionate about running, wanted to see the race community or the running community in Calgary grow. And at the time, there wasn't a half marathon distance race in Calgary. So they decided that it would be a good opportunity. The Calgary Police Service, fortunately, has always had a really strong connection to the community. So they started the Calgary Police Half Marathon. The first year, it was 250 people that gathered in the parking lot of the old Calgary Zoo parking lot. This is going back. It's not what it used to be. It used to be on the other side of the river, and it looked quite a bit different. 250 runners gathered, and that was the inaugural race. And from the onset, it's always been to develop that strong relationship between the community and the police service through physical fitness. So that was the roots, and I'm proud to say that is continued on to this day. That's still why we gather. That's still why people come and register, and that's still why we host the race. The race committee has always been made up of civilians, employees, both sworn and not sworn members of the Calgary Police Service. It's looked different over the years. But they always come together, and they've done it off the corner of their desk. We aren't a company or a group that does it for profit. We do it because we love running and we love having people gather for our race every year. That's always been at the heart of it. Over the years, it's been run out of a few different locations, and about 20 years, it would have been 20 years ago, there was a move to Mount Royal University, or at the time it was college, now it's university, and a strong partnership developed from there. We've always had a charitable component. Most recently, we partnered with the Mount Royal University and give some bursaries, as well as we partnered with the Calgary Police Foundation to make they're the recipients of our pledge program. So there's a charitable component to it. And honestly, I'm surrounded by a committee that is passionate about hosting this race, representing the Calgary Police Service, and gathering so that everyone who enjoys running can come out, whether it be a 5 or it started out as just a half, and then it grew to a half and a 5, and now it's a 5, a 10, and a half. So for racer or runners with all abilities. So that's kind of the history of it and how we came to be at Mount Royal University. And I guess 3 times now it's been canceled for reasons beyond our control, which is why we're talking today. So 2002 was canceled because
we're here to support you and say there's a future.
Yeah. So in 2002 it was canceled. What's that?
What happened? 2002 you had a cancellation?
Yeah, snow. I don't remember it very well, but it was one of those typical spring storms that saw a foot of snow being dumped and it wasn't safe. And then unfortunately, 2019, I remember it vividly. It was the perfect combination of freezing rain, snow on top of it. Last year made the very difficult decision to cancel the race. And then, of course, this year, I was so excited. I am so excited for the 40th anniversary. We have a lot of great initiatives for the 40th anniversary. And then I'd say for us, it was about 6 weeks out when we started having some serious conversations about what COVID meant and how it was going to impact our race.
So then, okay, so last year didn't work out for you. This year is proving to be challenging once again. So you're clearly a resilient person, and
I guess.
And you're going to push through this. So, I know that you were supposed to have the race this last weekend. So, what have you been? I know you've been sending out communications to racers and your community, and what's the feeling? How is everybody doing that wanted to run this weekend?
Well, it's a date that I have circled on my calendar. I know it's a date that a lot of people have circled on their calendars, but obviously our health and well-being trumps everything. And so I'd say that by far our registrants and our supporters have been very understanding. Like, we're not the only the only group facing this. And so we've done our best to communicate as much information as we can. And that's, as we can all remember, in those first couple of weeks, it was changing by the minute, by the hour. Every day there'd be a new set of rules to play by. And so you didn't want to make one decision only to have the next day's new rules maybe make your decision unnecessary. So it was just a couple of us that started. We just met for a regular monthly meeting, and COVID was on the radar, but the plan was that was a Wednesday, and the plan was, forge ahead. And I want to say that by the following Monday, I was on the phone with the city. So that would have been the February meeting. I was on the phone with the city talking about contingencies. The unfortunate part with last year was it was a straight cancellation. we weren't in a position where we could reschedule the race, and we've paid for everything, and we weren't able to offer refunds. It's a pretty common pretty common rule in the race world, is that there's no refunds given. It's an unfortunate part of it, but with the fact that we had to pay for shirts and medals and all your costs up front, it's just not practical. Insurance is not financially feasible, and it's just one of those. If you talk to any seasoned runner in Calgary, the common feeling is that, if you're going to register for a race in Calgary or Canada for that matter, a cancellation is something you may have to contend with, and it might just be something where you eat that money. So last year we were able to give out shirts. We turned it into an opportunity for a virtual race. It wasn't at all how we wanted it to go, but we tried to get the shirt. We got the majority of shirts to everybody and made medals available for everybody. But the funny thing is, there's a lot of people that. There's lots of people that came and took advantage of picking up the medals, and there's some that don't believe in taking the medal if they didn't run the race. So you gotta respect their perspectives on that. So, but this year was a lot different. There's lots of silver linings in this for us. A good group. We do all our work in the months leading up to it, so that the last 6 weeks we can just ease into that race day, because it's a busy week for us. And so we wouldn't be in the position we're in right now if it wasn't for the committee. They've done all the work, and so on that Monday it was pause.
Mm-hmm.
Pause. Let's make some decisions. And we were. It's funny that I contacted the city. I've found them extremely easy to deal with. I've developed a really strong relationship with Jennifer Davis, and she right away we started talking about a contingency plan, and she basically we had an alternate date in the fall kind of penciled in, and we were believing that we could just basically move our event to that date. But and she'd almost given me just like a bit of a handshake of a deal, but then within 2 days they were going into the same kind of planning mode, and they asked us to resubmit the application. So that was the first thing I did. I resubmitted the application with the new date for the fall. And since then, that is sat. There's been no progress with that, no progress with the approval of that. My second call was to my medal and shirt supplier. I was, again, silver lining. We were able to pause that, and so that wasn't in the middle of production. We hadn't made any financial payments, and so we're in a really strong position when it comes to that. So that's all on hold, and eventually became, as we all know, all events until, what was the first one? The end of April.
June 30th. It was
Which iteration?
And then now it's August 31st.
Yeah.
Right. So we knew that was going to impact us. Like I say, the city's been terrific with us. And they're just not, I think that they're in a position where they don't want to go and start approving things until they have some clarity. Mm-hmm. And once they do, I think that things will start to move ahead. You think about, it's not just as easy as circling another date on the calendar. We have race timers, and it's just a small company that we use. They have other commitments. I don't want to say, oh yeah, we'll do it this date, and have them be committed for an event in Fort McMurray. So had to loop them in. Obviously, Mount Royal is our big partner. We had to make sure that weekend was available. We have our the tech shop is our partner. They do a big gear sale. Again, the moons had to align for a bunch of different, several of our partners in order for that date to become viable. And to be honest, we were actually kicking around probably 5 different weekends in the fall, and settled on one that, fingers crossed, will be approved. And the idea is that we will unpause it. We're in a really good spot, and there are a lot of opportunities for that new date, and with a little bit more time. So,
but that's even the thing, right? As you can tentatively, and I've spoken with Jennifer as well at the city about other events that we've got that we were supposed to be doing. But as much as they want to say, yes, you can have this weekend, they've still got on their end, like the road closure people and like all the crews and everything like that they've got to organize. And of course, everyone who's been canceled is also looking for a date to reschedule as well. So you're in for let's just say you're going to stay resilient.
So
my glass is always half full.
Yeah.
And it's interesting in the role that you play generally, right? So as somebody in the police force, there's a readiness for anything. That was something we had talked about before Christmas as well, that that's how your mind thinks. It's how you plan your processes. That's how you onboard your team. Do you find that there has been, with the cancellations, a difference in keeping your team motivated and engaged, and kind of everything goes on hold? And sometimes there's that feeling from a team that has been working so hard. So they've just been, leaning in and doing the work, and that's the reward, right? You get to see that beautiful, what we call candy moment, but you see the event actually happening. Has it been hard in managing your team? And not so much that they're hard to manage, but when there's been multiple delays over the years, and especially with this being such a big year, has there been some lessons that you've learned in managing your team through it?
Lessons, not so much. This has certainly been a reminder that I've brought together like the perfect group, and we have a bunch of Calgary Police Service employees, both sworn and civilian. We have a couple healthcare workers. We have one committee member who works for Alberta Tourism, and she. So I've found that, again, through their hard work and just being able to pause it, we actually all have a lot of other things to focus on right now.
Yeah.
And so it has allowed them, I think, to focus on their families, focus on their health, and focus on their work, because everyone's job description has been changing. A lot of people started teleworking. Some people that weren't normally frontline police officers have gone back to the front line. I feel like I didn't want to have one more pressure. I didn't want the race to be one more pressure, to add any more pressure onto their lives. And so one of my colleagues, who is like, I call her, I'm 1A and 1B. I don't make a decision without looping her in, and she holds me accountable for some of my harebrained ideas sometimes. Her and I we chat a few times a week just about what's emerging, what we need to bring to the committee, what we don't need the committee to bother them more, because we have a lot of people doing a lot of different things. Our PR person, our social media person, is in our public relations section, and as you can imagine, she's got a lot of other things on her plate with COVID. We've got to make sure that the messaging internally matches the information externally. And so to not burden her with a lot of the other duties leading up to, just pausing it. And that was the other thing we had to consider. Like, so we made the official announcement, we sent letters to our sponsors, we sent a letter to our partners at the same time. It was a very coordinated hitting send, so that there wasn't any misinformation or confusion out there. We looped everyone in, including our registrants, through our race roster, through the email distribution lists that it's canceled, or postponed. Bad word, canceled. Lots of different words mean a lot of different things. So it's postponed, and we got all that information out there right away, and we said basically we'll update you as soon as we know more. And as much as this is a really important thing and it's something that's circled big on my calendar, I think that considering everything that's going on in society right now, I wouldn't be shocked if running and registering for a race and whatnot kind of falls down lower on the priority list. So we haven't been engaging our people, our registrants and our social media followers very, very much until race weekend. And we actually used it as an opportunity leading into it. Again, I wanted to be able to announce that we had a new date, which unfortunately we're not at this point. But we still didn't want the weekend to go by without it being recognized like another weekend. This was a very important weekend for us. So our public relations person on the committee, she set together something really, really, really great and to the point. And we asked people to share their favorite memories from previous races, whether it be a written memory or a photo or something that they had, just to let everyone know that it hasn't been lost on us that this would have been race weekend and this was an important weekend. But we framed it around letting first responders cross the finish line before we started our race. And so we'll continue to engage, but we don't want it to be something that they get tired and just hit delete or scroll past. And so we're going to make sure that all communication is relevant and timely and important to them, given everything else that's going on.
That's amazing. So can you tell us a couple of those stories? Like what were they saying on the weekend?
It didn't get quite as much traction as possible as we were hoping. There was lots of share. There was a few images shared of race shirts, the good, the bad, and then just like lots of positive comments about we'll wait, basically. So, and I think that again, a silver lining. Even with a cancellation last year, we have a core group of registrants that come back and register every year. There's a lot of people that have taken pride in the fact they've run in the vast majority of these our races. So we the challenge again, having a canceled race last year. And then the postponement this year, it's definitely not ideal. But I'm hoping that we also, with the 40th anniversary, we made some clothes, some hoodies and hats available for sale. We were so excited to unveil those and get them in people's hands. So we're looking at the postponement as an opportunity that once we can get that date confirmed, that we can open up our registration again, and we can this is an opportunity that a lot of registrants might not have had. Like a lot of people are intimidated by having our run so early in the year that they don't have time to prepare. Well, maybe now at the end of this, look outside. Look how many people are running to stay active
here, and there's always people running out there, and I bet you a lot of them haven't run for months or years. Some of them.
And so, and that's an opportunity for us. We in our heyday, we saw 2,500 runners up from that original 250, and so it would be great to get the numbers back up there, and maybe it'll be an opportunity once it does open, registration opens again, to get some people that might not have considered it but are in a different, have a different perspective on running, have a different appreciation for running. Running means something different to them because in this difficult time, they found a new passion, which was running, and for them to come out and register for our race would be great and a great opportunity for us. So definitely lots of little silver lining pieces that are becoming part of our story for this year. So
people can't register just yet if they want to. It's still on hold until the date is confirmed. That's right.
Yeah, when we officially postponed it, we closed registration. We don't want to. We're confident we're going to host the race. We're just not sure when, and we just thought it'd be more appropriate to pause registration.
Yeah. And considering that's a great idea, but considering that you're in your 40th year, were there any surprises, anything new and cool that the racers wouldn't have seen last year that might be an extra draw this year?
We did a logo refresh. We had a 40th anniversary logo, but then we also refreshed our logo. And again, with any smaller run, we've got different logos from different years that make up everything from our letterhead to our start finish line. So we're trying to get that. We're sharing our new logo. Was going to be new last year, was going to be new this year, was our start finish line. We moved it. Mount Royal University, they are excellent partners. And if you're familiar with the race or the university campus, we host it right at the three-way stop at the entrance to the recreation building. And from a logistics traffic flow point of view, it's not the most ideal spot, and their campus has changed quite a bit over the years. So we'd moved around the corner, and that actually it wound up being presenting a lot of great opportunities for us to create a different atmosphere around that start finish line. So we were really excited about that. We will see that new start finish line. It just wasn't this past weekend. So.
And then, with that change, is it possible now, when you do go back in September, is there going to be a possible issue of that being sort of conflicting with the fact that school will be back in? Is that?
No, it's a great opportunity because the last forever in being held in late April, the school is out, and there isn't a lot of engagement from the school, from the students, because they're all either finishing up their exams and moving out, or there's some students that save for the spring semester, but it isn't very the campus isn't very busy. In discussing with our committee member who works at Mount Royal, we see it as an opportunity to really turn this event into something that, as the students are all coming back, it's maybe an event that they'll participate in. They'll get together with some of their clubs or other groups within their circles and register for the race. So it's actually that is another great opportunity for us.
Those then become the next 40 years of runners.
Right? Yeah, it absolutely could be. So
volunteers,
lots of silver linings.
Exactly. So you are connected to a wider running community, is what we kind of chatted about before. What are you seeing as far as the emotions, the feelings, some of the decisions being made more broadly? Because runs, bike-a-thons, a lot of those types of events where you're gathering people, it's an outdoor, usually pretty wide area that people are covering. Maybe before we close here, what are some of those things that you're hearing from the rest of the community? And from what I understand, they're pretty tight. So there's some information sharing, there's some support.
Yeah, the first 10 days to 2 weeks, I was fortunate enough to be looped in with some teleconferences and some Zoom meets with Run USA and because this is happening all over North America, and there are lots of races in different positions. A lot of races were canceled with no notice. It was coming up. The races that were within the first 10 days after it started to unfold in the United States, they straight out canceled. There was a lot of optimism about working with their respective cities and permitting groups to reschedule them, but there's only so many weekends in the year, and we have ours circled. But I'm sure that we're not the only one that in Calgary that was looking for looking for that particular weekend. So some of the other races, a lot of them were going virtual. And another option was the deferral, just outright scrub the race for the 2020 calendar year, and have those registrations roll into the next year. There are every race is different. There's a lot of for-profit groups out there that or companies or organizations that run races, and they can maybe some of them can maybe take the financial burden of that, but for some of these smaller races, it's just not viable. So rolling it into the next year became an option that I saw quite often. But I think again we're in a really good spot. We usually have a great fall in Calgary, and there is certainly an opportunity to just pick up and move to that alternate date. So go ahead.
We definitely have our fingers crossed for you that you get the date that you want, and we are maybe not running alongside you quite yet. Maybe I'll spend the summer trying to run so I can.
Maybe Ben and I will start our own candy run team, and we'll.
Yeah.
Well, I'll speak for myself. I'll actually get in shape. With the change.
Round is still shape, isn't it?
What's that?
I'm thinking round is still a shape, so whatever. But,
now that we don't have like the on-site setup, tear down, I've totally been feeling the lack of movement.
I know, me too. But okay, so Steve, we want to join. Let's say we want to join. How do we follow you? Where do we find you? If I want to look for information and hear the news, where do I go?
We have our Calgary Police Half website, and we can be found on all the social media platforms. Well, not all of them. We're not on TikTok yet. I don't know. Maybe
TikTok.
We need to do that. I'll train you later. We'll talk later.
Sorry. Yeah. So Twitter and Instagram, YYC Police Half, and then Facebook, we can be found through the Calgary Police Service Facebook page. So we're out there, but keep checking Calgary Police Half, and we'll have some updates on there for when we have that approved date and we are unpausing our registration.
So awesome. And if we're sort of a related, unrelated question, if I could, Jen, just jumping in.
Yeah, of course.
Are there opportunities right now? We have, we work with a lot of volunteers, and a lot of them are looking for ways to volunteer right now that are still keeping them safe. They might be working from home. There might be people that are willing, but they're not sure what to do. Are there ways for not just for people to sign up to run, but maybe to volunteer with your team or somehow support you?
Yeah, there is. We have a really strong volunteer base, fortunately, but we always have opportunities for more. I like to think that it's a good problem to have when people keep wanting to come get up early on a Sunday morning and come out and set up cones and hand out water. So you can visit our webpage as well, Calgary Police Half, and there's a link to volunteer as well. So lots, and that has unfortunately been paused for now as well. But once we get back up and running, you go on there and there's a variety of positions that you can sign up for. So that'd be great.
That's awesome. Fine, Lisa. That was exactly going to be my next question.
Well, and I do want to say thank you for your service. I have many friends that are on the front lines right now too, and I understand the stressors, life, and all the things that people you work with, and situations you work with don't end. And I think that there's so much more needing to be done in all of this transition. As much as we're managing family and work and new schedules and all of that, there still is a need out there. So thank you for sticking with it and for your teams. And we appreciate those that are out there. And actually, Jen, I think you mentioned on one of our lives, even the fire department coming for your grandma's 90th birthday.
They were there.
So I just think that there's a, not that this is at all a funny situation or something to make light of, but I appreciate what you're saying, Steve, about the silver lining. And that's how we live. It's how I built this company as well, is that if we're not looking at the joy in life and some of those really beautiful things that are coming out of difficulties, it's easy to get your spiral and your head in out of the game, but also where you feel paralyzed, and how do you move forward? And I think this conversation and you sharing today, I know that's an encouragement for a lot of people, because when you're talking about an event at that scale, like you say, there's so many layers of things that need to be not just reorganized, but people and feelings and plans and partners, and all of those layers have to be managed well. So we appreciate you coming on. And if somebody has a question, I'm sure you'd be open to a visit if somebody had any questions.
For sure. For sure. Yep.
I will be doing a watch party. So what I do after we say goodbye is I'll do a watch party, and then I'm going to be adding all of those links into the chat box so that people can find you.
Sure.
They'll know where to look for the new date when that is revealed. So we'll for sure post that on our sites as well. Anything else, Jen? I know you've been sort of muscling through a lot of outdoor event challenges too, but
well, I think everyone's dealing with something in some way, and I think just through it and moving forward, and silver linings are really important. So thank you for that, and good luck. I'm really excited to see where this goes, and I really hope you don't have to postpone again until next year. And fingers crossed for you for September. So
and let us know if there's anything we can do to help.
For sure, I will. Thanks for chatting. Thank you.
That's the running part.
All right, we'll see everybody later. We will be posting more lives as we have opportunity to talk to our community. Again, thanks, Steve, and thanks, Jen. Always, we'll see you again on another Zoom, probably later today. So
just tell me when I'll wash my hair.
Exactly, when we have to, yeah. That's a good thing. We can do our hair and show up live, and we feel like we're actually going to work.
Your hair looks lovely.
Very nice, Steve.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later.